What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where I am Apollo, aka Track Nasty, and this is Ride 5 Career Mode. We are back here for the 700cc championship. We are on the Aprilia and we are on Blue Wave to start. Now, I had a lot of problems here. Because the overall category that you could have your bike up to was, I believe it was like a 700 rating. Now the Aprilia, I was able to get slicks on it. I have, I think, an aero exhaust, upgraded brakes, upgraded engine, transmission. I decked the bike out, okay? And no matter what I did, I could not get this bike up to that category level. Now, I had the option to buy a new bike and ride with that, but I didn't want to do that because we had unlocked the Aprilia in the video before this one, and we had been using that. So I really wanted to try to keep this bike to kind of try to keep everything in the same area. I don't want to be switching between bikes if I can help it. So what I had to do was make the unfortunate decision to drastically lower the difficulty. I had to do this because I was starting at around 70%, which is where I normally do things, and I was getting cleaned. I mean, no matter what I did, everybody was flying past me. I had no chance to even try and compete. So I progressively lowered the difficulty from, I think it was 75 at first. I lowered it down after probably 10 tries or so, down to 70. And I lowered it again down to like 65. And then I went down to 60. And no matter what I was doing, I was not able to keep up with the other AIs. And at the same time, you know, I'm really not the best racer, I guess, when it comes to video games like this, which this is very clearly demonstrating. I can't keep my lines at all. But I believe I ended up getting it down to about 55%, which, as you'll be able to see at some points, people are gaining on me, and I'm full on the throttle. I mean, my bike was just too slow. But lowering it down to 55, I was able to give myself somewhat of a battle with how, you know, I'm not really able to keep the lines that I want to keep and everything else. So I think that was the choice to make. Not every race was the same. Some had different difficulties, others didn't, etc. Regardless, I did really enjoy playing through this. It was very frustrating to get it to a point where I was able to compete, but I really do like the Blue Wave circuit track. I think it's really unique in its own way. Normally you don't see tracks where you're going, you know, into tunnels and over bridges, and I think that was a really cool concept to be able to play through, even if it was in a game. And now that, you know, I'm thinking about some of the other problems that I was dealing with, specifically on this track a lot, I did notice, is going into corners, I'm really hard on the brakes because I have soft grip tires on. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why do you have soft grip tires on? It's hot, you're gonna run through them. Well, in this game, with the difficulty I was at, tire wear was not, it's not important at this point. And my overall thinking was, because I've had problems with braking and sliding out in the past, if I can put soft grip compound on, which is going to grip more, and wear usage isn't a thing, it would be able to help me in the corners and heavy on braking, which it did begin to help with. But I also did end up noticing taking certain corners, you're going to see the handlebars shake a lot, and I'm noticing that, you know, as I'm going into a corner, and I was really hoping I wasn't going to flip and high side the bike. Thankfully, that didn't end up happening on this particular run. We were able to keep it and get the first place, but it was a little bit nerve-wracking. And then there was some other things that happened, you know, I believe on the last lap, especially right in the previous sector. I mean, I was getting really wacky. I almost smacked a couple different, not rails, but walls, I guess we'll say it, so to speak. Now, as we approach the third lap, there is something that does unfortunately happen, and it really did bother me. We're all the way at the final stretch, and somebody's knocking on my door. And they're knocking on my door, and eventually I just had to pause my race because I was getting sick of hearing knocking on my door. So what ends up happening is, you're going to see in a second here, I ended up having to pause my game, and when you did the resume, I went right into a wall. So I had to use the rewind function, which I have not used. I've been good about it. I haven't used it. But I did have to use the rewind function here because I was not going to redo this whole race for 30 seconds that I missed. So the editing does get a little wacky. I tried my best to kind of line it up as well as I could. But unfortunately, I'm not a professional. And the one thing I did really like too is this corner that we just took. I think I was able to find a better line than what it suggests, but again, I'm really not a professional racer and I don't really know where the best lines are to keep, but I was trying to really cut in close there because I felt as though I could keep the momentum going around that corner and gain speed. And then turns like this where you really had to slow down and it was a really kind of sharp hairpin almost, those I found are quite difficult for me to do, but I'm able to manage somewhat well, I should say. And I believe right around here, coming up on this last little bit, is where I do end up having to pause my game and kind of rewind things just coming out of this tunnel. But that is pretty much going to wrap up the second race. Or the first race, I'm sorry. Yeah, right here. I did have to make that. I tried my best, but I'm not a professional. So as we finish the first race here at Blue Wave, we end up going back to Snetterton, which I find kind of interesting how, we play a couple certain tracks multiple times through, but they have different paths and complete circuits of sorts. I do believe this particular path on Snetterton I have not done, but I could be wrong. Now, coming into Snetterton as well, I really did have quite a hard time with brakes, as you'll be able to see somewhat. I mean, the handlebars start shaking, so I had to ease up on the brakes and then kind of tap the throttle so that I could try to keep my spot. And I'm not sure if that's the way that I'm coming into the corner and the rate at which I'm braking. I'm trying to use more so my rear as I approach the corner, and then I try to use my front kind of trail brake through it. I'm pretty sure I made him crash too, which I found kind of funny, but I was getting fed up with the difficulty and things. You'll be able to see, I believe on this race as well, that people start catching up to me on straights and I'm full on the throttle. And again, that's because of the difficulty rating of the bikes. I don't want to say difficulty rating, but almost a difficulty rating of sorts, where you get your rating on all the different equipment you have on your bike and things like that. But luckily I was able to pull this one off without too much trouble. I think it took me a couple tries, and I'm pretty sure I kept this race itself at, I think, 60%. So it was higher than Blue Wave, but I did unfortunately lower it from what we're normally used to. Popped the wheelie, which was really scary at first because I thought I was gonna get past and that there was no coming back from that at all. Fortunately, I was able to keep it. And then on the last lap, I think it was pretty clean overall. I'm not too sure, aside of me, almost going wide. So I guess I could take that statement back, but I think overall, I do believe this lap was somewhat clean. I don't think, I really messed up too bad here, which was nice. I feel like I'm starting to understand a little more how the game is responding to my controller, which, you'd figure after 7-8 episodes I would, but every bike I've used so far, I've felt the differences in the response of the controller. So I think I'm getting used to being able to determine how the bike is going to react a certain way with how I'm inputting things, which is going to, I think, be beneficial moving forward. Now, on our last race, we are back here. I believe it's the Kalami circuit. I'm not sure how to really pronounce the name, but a couple episodes back, this is where we had a time attack. I really don't have anything bad to say about this track. I think overall it is a really beautiful track with beautiful scenery. It's got awesome turns, couple different straights. I really have a blast when I play this one. Especially coming up here, I love these really big, long, flowy turns right here. Like these nice, long, flowy turns. I think those would be a blast to be able to, you know, take myself, which... as we approach the warmer weather, I do want to try to get at least one track day in myself. And if that's something you guys would like to see me do, you know, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure I can figure something out. Right now, I do have a 2006 R6 that I plan on taking there for my first, you know, couple of times, just to try to get used to track life and, you know, unlearning bad habits, things like that. But eventually, you know, I do want to be a Ducati boy. I think the more, you know, I look into it, I really think the V4R is what I'm looking for, you know, really aggressive, lots of horsepower. And from the research I've been able to do, it looks like, you know, it takes corners extremely well. It wants to stay up when you're throwing it down. And I think it'll be a blast, but, you know, that's a lot of money and I'm not rich, so we'll see where that goes. This corner was difficult as well. I mean, it was really kind of sharp almost, even though it's not sharp, but it caught me off guard a couple times. And then coming up on this corner here as well, I had to kind of mess with it a little bit to figure out the braking. You can hear the tire kind of squealing if you pay attention. I mean, I was really hard on the brakes there, which, I mean, is nice when I have those soft grip or soft compound tires with nice grip, and I don't have to worry about tire wear. I don't have to worry about gas usage and things like that, which, you know, it's nice to have, but I do feel like eventually I would like to get comfortable enough within Ride 5 to be able to raise the difficulty to a point where tire compounds matter, the amount of gas that you put in your bike matters. I think that would be really cool. And the one thing I keep looking at that I've never really mentioned, I don't think, but I think is really fantastic on Ride 5's part, the little details are really cool. I mean, you can see right there in your reservoir, it's kind of just shaking and it's going everywhere, and it's realistic with the way you're moving. I mean, if you're leaning left, the oil or the brake fluid or whatever, you know, your reservoir is going to show. It's gonna lean that way, and if you're really going and you're bumpy, it's gonna bump in that reservoir, and I thought that was really cool. My favorite corner here, this gave me so many problems in the time attack trial, and it gave me problems here a little bit as well. I mean, you can see I kind of went a little bit on the outside of track limits, but I was able to pull it back in. And then this straight, I think would be probably my favorite, you know, a downhill straight right into one of those nice long turns. I think that's probably my favorite. Now, I almost went wide here. That scared me. I thought I was gonna wreck, and I really didn't want to wreck as we were about to go into the last lap. I don't remember what difficulty I set for this one. I think I was just fed up with everything from when I tried it the first couple of times at about 70. I think I lowered it right down to 55, and I just didn't want to deal with having to progressively lower it and lower it and lower it. But I messed up a couple times. Like, you can see my almost 2-second gap just shortened to 3 seconds. And in the straights, they're still able to keep up. So I think it was okay to lower it like that. Moving forward, you know, I don't foresee problems like this happening. I believe the bike that we unlocked at the end of this is an 09 Fireblade, I believe. I could be wrong. I do know it's a Fireblade. I'm just not sure what year. So I'm looking forward to getting on that on the track and seeing how we do with that. We had the 600, which I mean, I can't remember using, so it must have not been that bad. You know, it's not a Gixxer, so I guess that's a positive. If you guys are enjoying the content, though, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if there's anything you guys would like to see me do, any other games you'd like to see. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd like to get other games and other content out. Right now, I really am just trying to focus on Ride 5, though. I have not played it, and I've been having a fun time playing it. in the future, you know, I'd like to do things like Fallout and Skyrim and, you know, just a whole bunch of games. Whatever you guys would like to see, you know, let me know in the comments down below so that we can make that happen. I have nothing else to say, so as we're coming up on the last turn here, I hope you guys have a good one, and we will see you guys in the next one.